Governor General witnessed flag lowering ceremony. Hundreds flocked to the Goroka Show. And Britain on high alert after another terror attack.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining me with Sunday's news. The Goroka Show held yesterday saw hundreds flocking the National Sports Institute fields to catch a glimpse of the annual show. Coinciding with the country's 42nd independence anniversary, the show saw cultural groups from all over Eastern Highlands and other provinces perform various dances and rituals. Tourism Promotion Authority CEO Jerry Agus says the Goroka Show is a highlight event in the country, and he thanked the event organizers for maintaining the show for over 60 years. The annual event attracts tourists from all over the world as well.
Without culture, there is no identity. People all around the world say that Papua New Guinea is the cultural mecca of the world. There is no country like Papua New Guinea with unique and very distinct culture. And today we are fortunate to witness that. And for us to put a show together, it is not easy, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know. It takes a lot of effort, time and commitment to host such a show. And on behalf of the Minister and the government, especially responsible for tourism, I want to commend the current show committee and the previous show committee of Goroka without failing for hosting Goroka Show every year. I think all of us can give a round of applause for that.
The tapa cloth and its traditional prints continue to stay a family tradition in the northern province. EMTV News spoke to one woman who was selling the traditional items at the Paga Hill Ring Road. Ethel Jurari says the tradition of printing and tapa cloth making has lived on from generation to generation. She says no two prints are the same, as each clan have prints that are unique to their clan, and these prints are also tattooed on their faces. What used to be a traditional custom has now turned into a local business, as locals have seen monetary benefits for making and selling their cultural crafts.
Design is creative designs. For the mothers and fathers, the design is original design, where you see it on our lady's face, like you see mine. Yes. So the same design, we put it on the tapa cloth. But they don't sell the clan designs. They don't give away the clan designs. It's for the clan only. Yes. But the normal designs, like you see on my face, like this, yes, those are for sale. Then for use, for use, not sale, but for use. But now our culture things, we make money, so Oro province, they make money out of the tapa cloth. Yes.
Independence celebrations continued in the nation's capital today. Unagi Oval was filled with hundreds of city residents who came to see traditional cultural groups and local artists perform. The event was hosted by the National Capital District Commission under strong police security. The NCDC Independence Planning Committee thanked the residents for a trouble-free and successful independence celebration at the venue. The celebrations ended with performances by local PNG artists B Red and Wame Blood. Karkar Island in Medang province has now become the main entry point for people smuggling in counterfeit products, illicit drugs and other illegal items. PNG Customs Port Manager for Medang says people are smuggling in restricted products and items at 2 a.m. then moving them out at 6 a.m. every morning. Vina Kaikai says some people even follow the Ramu River to where the Brahmin Bridge is, where there are vehicles already on standby to move those goods out.
Madang Province says borders with Morobe, Wewak and the Highlands. PNG Customs Port Manager Vina Kakai says most of the counterfeit products and even illicit drugs are coming through the borders through West and East Sepik. Most of the drugs arrive at Bogia. But this route has not been used as customs and police have been monitoring the area. Thus, those involved in this business have found new routes to smuggle unwanted goods into Papua New Guinea.
So they have sourced other route to go and land their cargo. So one area is Kaka Island. They come and they land their cargoes in Kaka, and early hours of the morning they bring them to Kubugam and exit out from there. Or they even follow the Ramu River up.
PNG Customs is a government organization that has 4 main functions. The first function is to facilitate the international trade and travel. They also protect local industries and the community. The third role is protecting our local and international borders. The final role is the collection of revenue.
Those cargoes mostly cargoes that are subject to inspection upon officers' experience. That's mainly for misclassification and undervaluation. However, we do get written notices, written advices from other agencies such as health, advising us of a product that will come, that when it lands, it will cause harm to the community, and we will not allow that cargo to go out. We should not allow that cargo to go out, sorry. So that's when based on the advice from health department, we go and get that cargo. We stop that cargo from landing and going going out of the wharf and going into shops to go up on the shelves for sale.
Kakai says this is a huge task to tackle. In Madang, there are only 10 customs officers, but only 6 officers can do inspections. The other 4 are not allowed to do inspection. There are tons of cargo coming into Madang, and most times officers are not able to do a thorough inspection.
So when they fail to do a thorough inspection, that's when all those illicit cargoes come out and go on the shelves.
Therefore, custom officers are now resorting to community awareness. The effort is to educate communities so that they can help report any sightings of such activities in their respective communities.
Customs awareness by educating the community of those illicit cargoes, and in order for them to assist us, they must report what they see to customs for us to assist them as well.
Mata Louise, National EMTV News, Madang.
National EMTV News continues with more after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Turning overseas, British police are calling the arrest of an 18-year-old man over the London bomb attack a significant development. He is suspected of detonating the device on a packed train, injuring 30 people. The UK remains on high alert.
Quiet Saturday morning, suddenly heavily armed counter-terror police moved into Sunbury-on-Thames. During the search of this house, they heard an explosion and evacuated residents from several streets.
There could be a bomb down there. And they were telling me I could go into my house, even though there could be a bomb.
I'm really scared.
Penny and Ron Jones live in the house and are well known for fostering teenagers, including refugees.
She's fostered generations and generations of children, and I've never known anyone more dedicated to the community and helping people. It just shows you, doesn't it? Maybe she's, after all these years, a little too trusting.
The raid was carried out after an 18-year-old man was arrested hours earlier in the customs area at the port of Dover. He's suspected of leaving the device which exploded on a train at Parsons Green Station.
At this stage, we're keeping an open mind around whether more than one person is responsible for the attack. And we are still pursuing numerous lines of inquiry and at great pace.
30 people were injured when the bomb in the bucket partially exploded on a packed rush-hour train, sending a fireball through a carriage. 24 hours later, Parson Green Station was open, but there was an increased police presence here and across the country. There have been a record number of terrorism-related arrests in the last year. This is the fourth time the UK's national terror threat level has been raised to critical since 2006. Soldiers have been deployed to key locations, which has freed up armed police to patrol the streets. It's the fifth terror attack in Britain since March.
There's clearly a lot of soul-searching that is going on and needs to go on about how we can really reduce this threat to a much, much lower level as soon as we possibly can. But I don't think people should get used to the idea that there will be constant attacks.
Police continue to question witnesses and gather footage. They have one man, but not all the answers.
Food and medicine is finally making it to desperate civilians in a Syrian city which is being under siege from ISIS in the past 3 years. Russian troops forced militants out of Deir al-Zor this week.
On a Russian military helicopter, we're heading east across Syria. We're escorted by 2 gunships in case we come under attack. Eventually, we arrive in Deir al-Zor, a city only starting to recover from a nightmare. For 3 years, this part of town was cut off from the rest of the world, surrounded by IS fighters. Well, with the help of Russian air power, the Syrian army broke that siege just a few days ago. Now, people here tell us that IS militants have been pushed back around 3 miles. But security is still a concern. Russian special forces accompany us to the market. The Syrian soldiers here, well, they're a little more relaxed. Supplying the city with food and drink and medicine is easier now. During the siege, Deir al-Zor had to rely on humanitarian aid by air. Thanks to God, thanks to the Syrian army and the Russian army, this man says, Syria is victorious. There is still fighting in Deir al-Zor, but the Syrian army has reclaimed much territory in and around the city. This oil-rich region was the heart of Islamic State's economy. Defeating IS here would be a major victory for President Assad. Life may be returning to this city, but there's still danger here.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he is more confident than ever the U.S. could address North Korea's threats in an effective and overwhelming manner. The U.S. ambassador to the UN says the latest sanctions against North Korea needs more time to work. Nikki Haley says they can't strangle the North's economy if Western leaders make sure the sanctions are enforced. Meantime, some of those leaders will converge on the UN next week.
Flags are up. It's time for another United Nations General Assembly global get-together. As always, the United States is the host country, a host with an edge from the very start of the year.
For those that don't have our back, we're taking names.
Much of the world's big names will attend, none bigger than President Trump himself, whose name has been just up the street from the UN for years, at the Trump World Tower building.
This General Assembly is about one man, Donald Trump. And the big question is, will Trump insult the UN, or will he try to make friends at the UN?
Trump, a New York real estate mogul, has not always embraced the UN. Nearly 5 years ago, he tweeted, "The cheap 12-inch square marble tiles behind speaker at UN always bothered me. I will replace with beautiful large marble slabs if they ask me." No one asked, despite years of renovation at the UN. After his election, Trump said the UN was a club where people like to talk.
Welcome to the White House.
Trump was more conciliatory when members of the UN Security Council visited the White House in April.
I have long felt the United Nations is an underperformer, but has tremendous potential.
President Trump will speak to the entire world for the first time from here at the General Assembly rostrum. The leader who vowed fire and fury if Kim Jong-un threatens the U.S. will be closer to North Koreans than he ever has been in his life. The North Korean delegation will be seated here in the front row, just 20 feet away from where President Trump speaks to the General Assembly. There have been some memorable speeches inside the General Assembly. Libya's Muammar Gaddafi tore a page of the UN Charter. Venezuela's Hugo Chavez warned the devil in the form of George W. Bush had been in the chamber.
And it smells of sulfur still today.
U.S. presidents are usually more measured in tone.
I think you're going to have the president who did the bombing on Syria from the chemical weapons, the one that has gone against ISIS in both Syria and Iraq at record pace.
Other first-time speakers include President Emmanuel Macron of France. It is also the first UN General Assembly for Secretary General Antonio Guterres.
The most dangerous crisis we face is today the crisis related to the nuclear risk in relation to the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Donald Trump has made the UN unexpectedly relevant. We thought that Trump was going to trash the organization, but his single biggest foreign policy priority, containing North Korea, is being handled right here in the Security Council.
Trump will also call for more reform of the UN. Unclear if he again demands changing of the marble.
Back home, the flag-lowering ceremony held in Port Moresby yesterday concluded the 42nd independence anniversary celebrations for Papua New Guinea. It began with a parade involving members of the 3 disciplinary forces who marched onto the Sir John Guise Stadium with either weapons or musical instruments.
The parade was led by the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary Police Band, with 2 companies of disciplinary officers from the PNG Defence Force and Correctional Services. The disciplinary officers marched onto the parade ground in position for the arrival of the parade host and the reviewing officer. Parade host and commander of PNG DF, Brigadier General Gilbert Toropo, and reviewing officer Grand Chief Sir Bob Dadai were both given a guard of honor upon their arrivals. Followed by the 3-volley salute, a military practice normally conducted at the funeral of a police or military personnel. The national anthem was played while the PNG flag was lowered by flag bearers. Representing the PNG DF, sea, land and air elements. The flag was folded and handed over to the GG to keep.
Today we celebrate the 42nd of our independence. It is our day of pride and joyfulness. Our day on 16th of September 1975, the Australian flag was lowered with pride and dignity, and the Papua New Guinean flag was raised for the first time in history.
The lowering of the flag ceremony concludes the 42nd independence anniversary celebrations for Papua New Guinea. Thakla Gunga, National EMTV News.
National EMTV News continues with more after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The Caribbean island of St. Martin is another island that was badly hit by Hurricane Irma. North of the island is administered by France, the southeast by Netherlands. Both were leveled by the monster storm, but there are signs the tiny island is slowly starting to recover.
That side of the tiny island is slowly starting to recover.
There's still a lot of damage and destruction in St. Martin, no doubt about that. These power lines are down. Those street lights here and there were ripped off by the winds of Hurricane Irma, and the island is nowhere near done picking up all this trash and debris that is littering all of St. Martin. And yet, it feels like the island is starting to turn a corner. Let me just show you what recovery is looking like on this one street alone.
Unmistakable through the decay, the smell of fresh dough. And when you get closer, the promise of a pepperoni topping.
Cheese!
Domino's Pizza churning out pies, at least 300 since this morning. They're free for relief workers, 30% off for everyone else. The hurricane rate.
Wait, pepperoni?
Owner John Caputo wanted to give back to the island that welcomed him 25 years ago. It's good business. It's also just the right thing to do.
Amazing job, guys. Good job.
You can tell people are hungry still.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it's one of the things that surprises me more than anything, that it's food is not getting to those in need quick enough, and we're probably one of the first places able to open our doors to provide a hot sanitary meal.
I never loved Domino's more in my life than today.
2 blocks down, the local gas station, at long last, opened to the public. Until now, only the military had access, and the fortunate few who could pull some strings. Yes, the line is long, 3 hours, and the gasoline is rationed, $20 max, but it's worth it.
How long you been without gas? Tell me about that.
About a week, 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
Our houses are gone. We hardly have anything. But at the end of the day, we have each other. We gotta keep the spirit side.
A few hours of power, perhaps a few car trips across town. One jerry can doesn't last forever, but that's as good as you'll get right now in St. Martin. And it trickles down to those who need it. Nearby, an improvised charging station kindly left out for neighbors, just enough to call relatives. At the end of the road, another sign of recovery, this one barely noticeable. One by one, hurricane shutters are coming down.
To take us to Trukai sports, Martina Hingis, who burst onto the tennis scene in the late 1990s, has made a comeback. Back then, her first 2 Grand Slam titles came in for her at just 16 years of age. 20 years later, the Swiss star is still winning at the highest level in the US Open doubles and mixed doubles title recently in New York.
It's an era of megastars, the greatest of all time. And the likes of Venus and Serena Williams and Roger Federer have serious longevity, playing well into their late 30s. But you might have missed the fact that another star from the same era is still playing and still winning. Martina Hingis won both the women's doubles and mixed doubles titles at the US Open and can now boast a milestone 25 major titles.
I always loved to play tennis, whether it was for the singles or now for the doubles. On court, I feel this is what I do best. This is what I know. This is my education since I'm 2 years old.
It has been a groundbreaking career. Turning pro at 14, winning 3 Grand Slam singles titles at the age of just 16, Hingis remains the youngest player ever to win a major. In fact, she'd won 5 of them before she was even 18. What are you the most proud of?
I guess being the youngest in most of the things that I did. Now looking back at it, when you see juniors and young upcoming players, and you say like, oh, Ostapenko, when she won the French Open, she's only 20 years old, and I was like, yeah, like that. By then, like when you were 20, you were like, if you didn't win a Grand Slam by then, you almost get like, oh, you're almost like too old now.
They say of athletes who start their careers as young as you do that you kind of blow right through a childhood and you don't have one at all. I don't know if that's true, but at what point do you think you realise kind of what that concept actually meant?
Well, in my case, I don't think that I definitely wouldn't want to change with anyone. Like what I went through, I think it's a lot cooler than, having to go to school. I mean, that wasn't like, I did that like education till I was 14, until I went pro, and then I did some later on as well. But I think this is the best education you can get. My mom always paid attention that when we traveled to different cities and countries, that we also took something from there and learned about it.
There have been many ups and some downs along the way. Hingis has twice come out of retirement, but her passion for the game is undimmed. Is there anything that you regret in your career?
Yeah, there's maybe 1 or 2 things that I would have done differently today than when I was 17, 18, you know?
Like what?
Well, you really have to bring it up, right?
I don't know what it is.
No, I mean, there's 1 or 2 matches definitely I like to replay, or just a situation here and there. Obviously, the French Open finals. Yeah, I would like to replay that because I felt like I had the match in my hands and let it go. But that's the game. Hey, I made history, so...
Her desire to win hasn't changed, but the sport around her has. The advent of the Williams sisters transformed women's tennis into a more powerful and physical game. I guess the power game is just a process of natural evolution, but do you think that's better for the game? Do you think tennis is better now because of it?
Well, I don't know if it's always better. I mean, sometimes I did complain about, like, I'd like to see a little bit of variety and a little bit of strategy in the game, but I think, you see that more in the men's tennis, and I think eventually women, they will come to there once you will be able to control all of that power, to have the variety out there again. Sometimes I think that's forgotten, that, hey, tennis is a game. It's not just all sheer power.
I have to ask you about Roger Federer, your compatriot, just a legend in the men's game, of course. What have you learned from him?
Hey, he's younger than me, so he learned from me.
Well, I'll ask him that and we can compare notes, yeah.
Hey, I always say I taught him how to win his first big tournament. It's like when we won Hopman Cup together, and we ended up winning Sydney together the week after in 2001, I believe. So that was, there's some great moments we shared, and we all know what happened after that.
Once known as the Swiss Miss, Martina Hingis still likes to be the boss. Perhaps one day in the future she'll get a chance to play doubles with Federer again. And if so, it would be a fitting end to a remarkable career.
When we come back, the Rugby League World Cup, a star attraction at the Goroka Show. Stay with us for details.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The Paul Barrier Trophy was one of the main attractions at the 61st Goroka Show after making a stop at the National Sports Institute Oval in Goroka yesterday. The trophy was warmly welcomed by participants and visiting tourists who took pleasure in taking photographs with the prestigious trophy.
Seeing of faces, mesmerized by Rugby League's most coveted prize, the Paul Barrier Trophy making its appearance at the Goroka Show. Adults and children who participated in the beginning show had the opportunity to see and touch the trophy before it was taken around the traditional dancing arena. Oil Search Managing Director Peter Botten told the show participants that they were privileged to see the trophy firsthand.
And it's a great pleasure to watch a fantastic, world-class cultural event. So thank you the organisers, and we look forward to having the World Cup with you behind it on the world stage, on the world television, as part of the Goroka Show and promoting Eastern Highlands.
CEO of the 2017 Rugby League World Cup, Andrew Hill, thanked the showgoers for gracing the touring team with the warm traditional reception.
And we, as Rugby League, are also doing our bits to showcase Papua New Guinea to the world. Can I thank Oil Search, a very proud PNG company, and also a very good friend of many of you, Mr. Mao Smith, who has helped bring the trophy here to Goroka. Images of Goroka will go all around the world, and I would like to thank all of you for your passion and your support to Rugby League.
Accompanying the trophy was Australian Rugby League legend Lote Tuqiri. The trophy made it to the grandstand while Tuqiri seized the moment for a brief game of footy with the local kids. Scenes of spectacular headdress at the show, combined with Rugby League World Cup's presence, made it all the more exciting. The Paul Barrier Trophy travelled to Hela today and continues on to Kutubu next. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
Reflecting on the past 5 years, Justin Tkachenko, now Minister for Lands, described his leadership as the former sports minister as an absolute privilege. He spoke of the SB Hunters' success at the dinner and awards night on Friday night.
Up now with Pearson back on the inside. That's it! Brandon Butler's got the ball!
Describing them as absolute champions, Tkachenko is confident the SB-PNG Hunters will do their best in putting 150% in the grand final come this Sunday.
Stand up, PNG! We're going to Suncorp, baby! Suncorp Stadium!
Looking back, as a former Minister for Sports, Tkachenko described his leadership in the last 5 years with sports in PNG and with the inception of SB-PNG Hunters as a journey. He says the country has come this far, especially in putting the national sport, rugby league, back on track.
We started this journey in 2012 and we got all the sponsors together. They took a risk. We came together for one reason, that was to get our national sport back on track in 2012, and we did it.
He says the hard work has come from the players and the administration together with individuals involved. He stated at the end of the day it is a team effort to work together to get the results, one of which SB Hunters have achieved.
I wish the Hunters all the very best. I know they'll be hungry for the win, and that's why they will win.
But as proud as he is already today, Tachenko could not be any happier to see big sporting events reach PNG shores.
So in the next 3 months we're going to see the Intra Super Cup Grand Final with the Hunters playing. We're going to see the 3 matches of the Rugby League World Cup where our Cormorants will be playing here in Papua New Guinea at the National Football Stadium, purpose-built stadium that the government has built. We're going to see the PNG Games, one of the biggest sporting events in our country, where all Papua New Guinea comes together to expose those unsung talents out there.
He defined his last 5 years as former sports minister as an absolute privilege.
We've achieved so much in such a short period of time. It all comes down to leadership and it all comes down to teamwork, working together.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
To NRL, the North Queensland Cowboys continue to defy the odds in the NRL finals. The team has been decimated by injury but upset Parramatta to reach next week's Final Four.
Michael Morgan! It looks like they're bound for the prelim final.
Slipping in off other results, their stars watching from the coach's box. The Cowboys are now 1 win away from the grand final.
I kept saying to them, hang in there, boys, our luck will turn, and I'm sure they were questioning that at some stage.
Not Jason Dalmalolo, the Kiwi steamroller running for another 200-metre game. That's almost 5,000 metres for the season.
Tipping it on Tamalolo. What hands?
For Parramatta and Semi Radradra, the start couldn't have been better.
There's nobody in front of him, and Radradra, he'll go coast to coast.
But the Cowboys' response was just as spectacular.
A draw and pass, Takarangi coming across in cover, but Felt has done it again.
The tide had really turned when Cohen Hess crossed in the second half. The Eels going into meltdown.
When the boys settle down, it'll be an 8-point lead.
Plenty of fight for a side which was written off way back in June.
Just being there for each other and playing for the guy next to you.
Even cleaning up for the guy next to you.
The great man Jonathan walking around helping the team shows the culture in the club. We've heard about the All Blacks sweeping out their dressing room. Look at Thurston there giving out drinks.
With that kind of culture, who's to say the Cowboys won't tip up the Roosters in a week's time?
Trukai Sports will be back after the break. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To football, PNG's Lay City Dwellers have been pulled into Group A of the 2018 OFC Champions League draw held at OFC headquarters in Auckland, New Zealand yesterday. Meanwhile, Madang FC is drawn into Group C, which include defending and 8-time champions Auckland City FC.
The groups for the 16th edition of the Oceania Football Confederation's Premier International Competition has been confirmed. National Soccer League champions Lay City Dwellers will make their 3rd consecutive appearance in the competition. Joining them in Pool A are competition debutants Nalkutan FC from Vanuatu, Fiji Vodafone Premier League runners-up Ba FC, and winner from the qualifying stage of the OFC Champions League. The makeup of Group B includes the winner of Solomon Islands Telecom S League, Tahiti League 1 Vini winners AS Dragons, New Caledonia Super League runner-up AS Lossi, and Eriko Golden Star FC. The NSL runner-up Madang FC is pooled in Group C alongside tournament heavyweight and 8-time champions Auckland City FC, Fiji champions Lautoka FC and AS Vinis from Tahiti. Group D wraps up with New Zealand Premiership winner Team Wellington, New Caledonia champions AS Magenta, and runners-up from qualifying stage and 2nd team from Solomon Islands. The 3 match days for Group A and Group B will be played between 10th to 18th February. Group C and D's encounters will follow from 24th February to 4th March next year. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby Union, All Blacks coach Stephen Hansen has hinted there may be changes to the All Blacks side to take on Argentina and South Africa in the coming weeks. Last night, the All Blacks were hard to stop in the 57-0 win over the Springboks.
To catch the breath as a record win still sinks in, but there's a search for even more improvement.
If we can, keep our energy levels high and our desire to keep improving high, then we'll keep them. That's what we'll do. If we aim low, we'll hit low. If we aim high, we'll hit high.
The All Blacks hit everything last night. They equalled their record score against South Africa, posting a record-winning margin, toying with the box. If the forward pack was thunder, Rieko Ioane was lightning.
Away goes Aaron Smith, drops the kick in. Ioane, he's got all the pace in the world, and he scores.
To use a phrase from a great All Black and man that's been around a long time, he showed a lot of gas.
After a bruising first quarter, the All Blacks lit up across the park, opening up rugby's Pandora's box for South Africa.
Dane Coles, Brady Retallick.
50 metres, 60 metres, 40 metres.
Yeah, I'll take 60. To be honest, I didn't know how we were up by however many points. It just felt like it was a tit for tat. We probably got four opportunities and took all four of them.
You feel it about Thursday onwards, the steely edge and the walking around the hotel and the guys sort of getting in that kind of zone of, it's a big one, and I could feel it personally myself.
The Springboks crumbled under that edge, from Sam Cane's defence and turnovers to losing 5 throws and the plot under the pump at line-out. The Boks were trampled in the scrum eventually, and in defence they missed nearly 40 tackles.
Alistair, how does a youngish team bounce back from a record defeat?
Yeah, that is a challenge for us.
The All Blacks have been threatening to fire again after that first half in Sydney a month ago. At North Harbour, they exploded. And we can all take a breath. Bowden Barrett kicked 8 from 9.
This week is a week on, so don't forget to write that. Kicked very well. B. Barrett. And what about
57-0. After what's been a creaky year at times, this is a massive statement to world rugby again.
And that ends Chukai Sports. The weather details up next.
True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. With doing with Dulux.
Your weather forecast for tonight: in the southern region, cloudy with afternoon rain showers in Port Moresby, rain showers then cloudy in Daru, Alotau and Popondetta, and cloudy with rain drizzle developing in Kerma. In the Momasa region, rain showers occurring then cloudy in Lae and Wewak, partly cloudy with showers in Medang, and thundery rain showers occurring then cloudy in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, thundery rain showers then cloudy in Lorengau and Buka, partly cloudy with rain showers in Kavieng, rain showers occurring then cloudy in Kokopo and Rabaul, and partly cloudy with showers in Kimbe. In the Highlands region, few showers then cloudy in Mount Hagen, and partly cloudy with evening shower or two in Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. Strong wind warning for small ships for tonight and tomorrow. Strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait, to Daru, to Kiwai Island, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to all Milne Bay Islands including Samarai Island to Cape Vogel, to Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait and Siathi Islands, to Long Island, to West New Britain, South Bougainville and Western Manus Islands. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru, to Kiwai Island, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Island, eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, with waters of Samarai Island to Cape Vogel and to Finschhafen, and with waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Dampier Strait, including CRC Islands to Long Island, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters of Kerema, seas of 1.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of Long Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak, to Aitape to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, East New Britain to Bougainville, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. And waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 1.5 to 2.5 meters. Ocean forecast for tonight in the Coral Sea. Sea is rough to very rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. In the Solomon Sea, seas patches to moderate to rough with southeast winds with 15 to 34 knots. In the Bismarck Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas light to moderate with southeast winds at 10 to 20 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. With doing with Dulux.
And that has been the news, sports and weather for today, the 17th of September 2017. On behalf of the news team, enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.